clothes to get all cleaned up and put away.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Happy Friday. My name is Caleb, and I'm one of the advocates here at Cult Advocacy. And welcome. So we will give it a few minutes for people to log on and find the stream. This is live, so welcome if you're just tuning in. We are streaming both to Facebook and to YouTube, so whichever you prefer, go for it. And like always, if you are new here, welcome. We do this every Friday, or at least we try to, either myself or Dakota or Nicole, and we talk about all things in the special needs world here in California. And so today we're talking about, like the title says, conservatorships, power of attorneys, and supported decision making. So this is in regards to, sorry, I'm going to expand this here. Okay, so this conversation is going to be in regards to long-term planning for your loved one who may need help with making decisions as they become an adult, right? So if you're caring for a child who has special needs or something of that nature, they may need support as they enter into adulthood so that they're not left to their own decision making, right? So, excuse me, we're talking about some cool ideas today, cool options. And so welcome to those who are coming now into the stream. You already know the drill. Please drop a comment, say hello. Let me know you can hear me okay and see me okay. And if you have a question, please drop it in the comment section. I will do my best to address the comments and questions that you might have. I may not have all the answers, but I will do my best. So we'll give it a few more minutes for people to find the stream and log on. Harvey, hello to you. Welcome. Glad you're here. We've got a few more people are logging in now, so that's good. I'm glad people are finding the stream. And thank you for the likes and the loves, by the way. That helps push the stream out a little bit so that new people can find it. And if you can give it a share to a support group or to a friend or whoever might need some of this information, if you know somebody who cares for somebody with special needs or a loved one with disabilities, this stream and other streams that we have may be helpful. And so it usually goes a long ways if you're able to do that. Just like yourself, if you stumbled upon one of our lives over the last 5 years of doing this, and there was information that was helpful for you, hopefully we can apply that to the next person who may need some information. And then again, giving your own advice and thoughts in the comments is also super helpful. I know a lot of people will find a comment or a question that is exactly what they're feeling or thinking, and they get the answers with you guys, right? Maybe I'm busy talking about our point and you're ready to answer a question. So coordinate with each other in the comments. It's also super cool and helpful to read your interactions as well. Hello to everybody joining. Hi to Nevea and Dean. Good afternoon to you, Chris, Wendy, and Virginia. Good day to you as well. And hello to you. All right, so do we want to talk about conservatorships, power of attorneys, and supported decision-making today? Too bad if you don't, because that's what we're talking about. But if you have a question about something else too, please feel free to drop it below. We talk about IHSS, regional center, special education, IEP support, things like that. So anything that you have a question or something you want to share that you're going through, please just let us know. I'm happy to chat about it. Hello to Miss Alyssa. Happy Friday to you. All right, I think we are about ready. I think that's most of you in the comments so far. So wonderful. All right, let me pull like my little notes up here. Okay, so really important, obviously, like I mentioned just a few minutes ago. So when you're caring for somebody with special needs, when they become 18, when they turn 18, things do change. And so we get, somebody's benefits and all, is that going to affect things? And so we're going to talk a little bit about what that looks like. And so with that said, when you turn 18, one of the big things that changes is about this person's ability to make decisions legally, right? Whether it be medical decisions, financial decisions, relationship decisions, things like that. And so there are steps that you should take, or at least consider, when it comes to protecting this person from maybe making decisions that might hurt them, or vice versa, maybe empowering them to make decisions, even if they may not feel like they can, right? And so there's a few different options that people want to learn about. So I'm going to share with you some of the basics. So I, for the record, am not a lawyer. I'm not an attorney. I'm not considered like an expert in this field who can give you like formal advice on this. So a lot of people ask like, hey, should I get my son conserved? Should I get a power of attorney? You know, who qualifies for these things? Well, I'm going to give you some snippets of, you know, what these things do for this, for maybe your person, but I'm not going to tell you which one to go do. So that's going to be up to you. That's going to be up to your loved one, that your family, and ultimately a judge. Like for a conservatorship, that will require a judge. So we're going to talk about all that stuff. Okay. So this is not necessarily advice or encouraging you to go one direction or the other. This is about encouraging you to do some research on this topic, maybe hire a lawyer or somebody to help you with it if you want to really pursue something. In some cases, you don't have to hire a lawyer, but I would recommend seeking professional advice on this if you're considering any of these options, okay? One thing to think about is it's not something you necessarily have to rush in. You can take time to figure out what option maybe fits best for your family and your loved one. I think that also gives you time to less pressure to pick the right option, right? Do your research, take some time. Things can get really complex when it comes to everything else in your life as a special needs caregiver or a parent, right? So this is going to be the same. It's going to be complex. It's going to be a little confusing. So take your time. Don't rush. Find the right people to help you with it, okay? There is no one size fits all. So I've kind of mentioned that already. I'm going to reiterate that. What might be best for my sister with Down syndrome may not be best for your son with autism, right? And so I wouldn't rely on maybe what other people say necessarily, or even myself when it comes to experiences. I'd say use that as a tool to help with making your decision, but I wouldn't take solid advice from somebody who may not know your loved one as well as you do. And then the legality, the legal matters of it, if you're going to do a conservatorship, it's a big deal, right? So anyways, we'll talk about that. All right, so the big idea here is about the decision-making process. And this is a bit of a spectrum, if you will. And so it's not necessarily an all or nothing thing. So there are ways where you can sort of scale it to where you can have certain controls over this person's life, that's considering what's best for them, as well as allowing them to still have their rights to make decisions as an adult here, specifically in California. So there's a few options that we're going to go over today. We're going to go over something called assisted or supported decision making. This is going to be the least restrictive option, which we'll talk about. We're also going to go over a POA, which is power of attorney. Sorry, I'm going to pull up these little guides here. So supported decision-making, SMD or SDM, also assisted decision-making, and then also power of attorney, POA. This one's very commonly known. I feel like probably most of you who are watching have heard of this, or maybe you have one already. And then the big one, which is going to be limited conservatorships. This is the one that's a bit more trickier. It's a bit more complex, but it's also very, very important to consider if it's and it could be necessary. And so we're going to talk about all these different things. Okay. So let me see here. So we'll start with assisted decision making. And thank you again to all of you who are here already. Hello, Antonia. Welcome. Good afternoon to you, Darlene. Thanks for being here. Again, if any of you have questions, please let me know. Feel free to chime in. You're also open to add anything too if you want about something that I'm discussing, or maybe I missed something. Please fill in the gaps for me and for us so we all can learn together. All right, so supported decision making. So this is something that I learned about a couple of years ago through a good friend, Ellen Cookman, who is a good friend of Galt Advocacy. She's joined us here on Facebook multiple times. She's phenomenal. She's an estate planning attorney where she specializes and focuses on special needs families and long-term support. And so she's the one that taught us a little bit about supported decision making for those who may not need something as maybe intense as a conservatorship. So the supported decision-making, SDM, this is something that is the least restrictive option for somebody who is an adult that has maybe an intellectual disability or some type of disability that impacts their decision-making capabilities, okay? So it's something that allows this person support through those big, important decisions that they may have to make for themselves as an adult. And so this is a lot less formal. It's something that they get to choose. They get to pick and choose who they want as their supported decision maker. And so if you need to help them make that decision, that can also be a part of it, of course. But this is an option for them to have all of their rights still within their capabilities. So if they want to choose, who they want to go out with, where they want to live, what job they want to work, medical decisions, financial institutions, they have the ability to keep all of these things in their control through the supported decision-making process. So it's important to understand that whichever one you choose for this person or help them choose, whichever one you decide is their caregiver or their guardian, what would be the best, safest option for them? It's important for them to gauge the understanding of it. If this person can understand what supported decision-making is, that might be a good option for them. And so I'll talk more about how that would make sense the deeper we go down, the more restrictive options we go into, okay? So this option, there's no court involved or anything like that. It's just something that you can get through. You can talk with your local regional center about it. You could talk to a lawyer about it, like Ellen Cookman. We can pin her information in the comments as well. But it's something that you can go about. To my understanding, it's just getting something signed off, to my understanding, and just allowing them to choose who their decision maker will be, or the helper will be, right? There's no court involved, no judge, so it's not anything like, stamp of approval like that. So it can be reversed, it can be changed, it can be adjusted over time. It's not too big of a deal, but it can be something really, really helpful. This is not going to take over the decision-making process. So if you are the person who's helping your loved one, if you're the parent and this is your son or your daughter, and they want this, they want the supported decision-making, they don't want to be conserved, they don't want you to have a power of attorney, again, we'll go over those options, they just want some guidance. This is kind of like a lightweight power of attorney. It's like something where it can be recognized with school institutions, regional center, where they recognize and understand that they need a helper. They need somebody to help them make decisions. They still want the ability to make their own decisions. So you can't trump a decision that they want, right? But it does recognize that this person may need help and they have an agreement with somebody else that allows them to be that support for them, okay? And again, this person would still be the final decision maker, not you as the caregiver. It would still be them. They would still be able to make that final decision, whatever that might be. Alyssa, my sister with Down syndrome needs conservatorship because she would absolutely refuse medical treatment if her life depended on it. Yeah, and that's a good example. It's a really good example of somebody that, I would agree. It sounds like a conservatorship is an option to consider, right? I don't know your sister to that extent, so I couldn't, of course, tell you that that's absolutely the right. Oh, sorry, everybody, hang on. And we're back. Sorry, that was my fault. I wanted this one. There we go. Sorry, I just realized I was doing full screen. I like having a little bit of a background. Adds a little flair to the stream. And so, yes. So your sister with Down syndrome. So I too have a sister with Down syndrome. I have, and she is also conserved by my parents, our parents. And so that was the best decision for her, right? And so if you feel like that's a really good move to protect your sister so that she would be able to receive that treatment, wonderful. And so I would encourage going about that route if you haven't done so already. But thanks for sharing, by the way. Alyssa, supported decision-making only for California or nationwide? I meant to look that up before we started today. I forget. So I believe it's something that's sort of rolled out nationwide. I don't think every state necessarily recognizes it as the same. But to my understanding, it is California. But Teresa, if you're watching, if you're behind the screen, Teresa, if you don't mind looking that up for me, that'd be great. Oh, Teresa is here. So Teresa linked Cookman Law. So if you have questions about long-term planning, conservatorships, power of attorney, supported decision-making, especially supported decision-making, give Cookman Law a call. Reach out to them, let them know that Galt Advocacy referred you over because you have some questions about that. Teresa, if you can look into supported decision-making, if it's just a California thing or not. I don't think my outline today actually includes that. So sorry, guys. Hi, Sarah. Welcome. Alyssa, if my mother's elderly, would it be best to skip the step of her conserving my sister and having one of her siblings do the conservatorship? So that's a great question. So you can have multiple conservators. So it doesn't have to just be mom. It can be multiple people. You can have backups and backup plans in the event that a conservator were to pass away or no longer want that responsibility. So I would recommend going in on it as a family and speaking with an attorney, and then kind of cultivating this plan together as a family. But yes, you can have multiples. It can be you. You don't have to just have mom on there as the conservator. So why most people like it, again, it's the least restrictive option out of the three that we're talking about. It will encourage independence. So this is one of those options where the point of this is to not rip or strip the rights away of this individual. It's to give it to them and just support them in their own decision making, right? So it may not be a perfect balance. I mean, we're all adults. We're all going to mess up and make, horrible decisions and great decisions as well, right? So it would just be you would be responsible as this supporter of this person to help them with making at least a conscious decision, right? And hopefully over time, it can build confidence for them so that they can feel confident in their decision making, right? Things that can be challenging is as banks and other form of insurance providers, they may not recognize this tool like they would a power of attorney or a conservatorship. So just take that in mind that if you're going to help them go sign up for a bank account, the banking institution may not recognize it at all. And so just keep that in mind. There may be some institutions and some environments where they may have no idea what it even is, and they may not even be required to use it as a guide in any capacity. Awesome, Alyssa, thank you for saying that. I'm glad. Stick around, we've got a little bit more to go. So Teresa says there are 39 states have passed the legislation for supportive decision making. Very good knowledge there, Teresa. Thank you for sharing that. I did not know that. It was one of the questions that I had when I was putting my notes together that I wanted to Google before I forgot. But thank you for getting that handy for us. Cool. Let us know is there anybody outside of California watching today? We normally just get Californians here because that's what we talk about. We talk about benefits and the special needs life as a Californian. But if you're outside of California or looking to leave California and go somewhere else, let me know. I want to hear you. I want to hear about it, your experience. All right. That is supported decision making. We're moving on to POA, power of attorney. So this is a big one. All right. So power of attorney is, again, probably going to be the most commonly heard one option. It's something that technically anybody can get. Anybody can get a power of attorney. I can get one over my wife. My wife can get one over me. You can get one over your child once they become 18. However, this one is going to be a bit more restrictive than the supported decision-making option. Okay. And so what it is, it's a form where a person gives someone else permission to help with specific decisions. So it can be a durable medical power of attorney where maybe it's just about medical decisions. That's all you want help with. It can be about financial. It can be about both of those things. It can be other things as well, but primarily it's going to be used for medical and financial decision making. This person must understand what this is in order for it to actually work. Okay, so a lot of people will get a POA for their child or their adult child with profound disabilities, where their comprehension level is not going to meet that threshold. So if you get a power of attorney for somebody who has no clue or understanding of what it is or how it works, then it may not hold up later on, okay? Because again, the power of attorney is a tool for this person with special needs, for this person who's disabled. They have to know what they are signing. So they are giving rights away, not rights away, but they're giving a little bit of power away when they sign this power of attorney. So they're not losing any power. They're sort of like gifting you a portion of their power of their decision making. So with a power of attorney, you do have the right to sign certain documents on this person's behalf. You have sometimes the ability to talk directly with their doctors without them present, and help make decisions medically, financially, all of that jazz, right? And so it's important that if this person does not have any clue how this works, what it is, then the state may not recognize the power of attorney as valid, because you could, we wouldn't want somebody to be taken advantage of in that capacity, right? So something to consider. It's often used as a backup, right? So if you know that this person would need support medically if they were to be hospitalized, again, it will limit certain areas of their life in a good way, where it may not prevent them from being able to make a decision, but it might slow them down, where if a doctor or somewhere along the line they see it in their file that they have a power of attorney, there's somebody who is a power of attorney over them, then that might give them the ability to reach out to that person before a decision is made. So there's a lot of upsides to it. I think it's a great option. It's a good middle ground if you feel like the conservatorship is far too restrictive, which again, I know we haven't gotten to that yet. And if the supported decision-making option maybe is not the best option for them, the power of attorney is a great middle ground. A couple more questions here. Alyssa, my mom and sister are located in Washington. I live in California. Can we have the conservator split in different states? So short answer is technically you can have these people listed as like backup conservators. They can be listed in the will or any backup plan that you design with an estate planning attorney like Ellen Cookman that we've talked about, but every state is different. So every state has their own versions of conservatorship. Some states call it a guardianship. But when we're talking about like a client of the regional center, it's almost always going to be a limited conservatorship. So when people hear conservatorship, they think Britney Spears lock you in your basement type thing. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about specifically limited conservatorships for people with special needs. And so, excuse me. So if this loved one would move, if your sister would move to Washington, I don't know if Washington calls it a conservatorship or a guardianship, but it is something it's not necessarily transferable. So it's something that you would have to get that state locally to recognize as well. So if they have the same policy, the same procedures as we do here in California, then you may have to get another judge there to stamp the approval on it, saying that person was conserved over there. Everything appears to be the same here. We can move on here in Washington with it. So I don't have all the answers there, but that would be another great question for somebody like Ellen or a local attorney that you might trust who works in that space. Miss Alyssa, again, the lawyer would have absolutely not signed off on my mom having power of attorney for my sister because my sister could not cognitively hold a conversation with an attorney, making it seem as if she did not understand what the power of attorney is entailed. So that's exactly the whole point, right? So they have to understand what they're signing. That's the only way a power of attorney makes sense. Whereas a conservatorship, that's a little different. So again, the conservatorship is going to be more for somebody who has no capacity to make a decision, like knowing what a power of attorney does, right? So we're almost there. We're going to talk about conservatorships here in just a moment. But thanks for being here, Alyssa. Great questions. And same thing as the supported decision making. This is something that can be changed or canceled. So a power of attorney can be revoked at any time by that recipient, by that person. So if this person who understands what the power of attorney is signs it, but tomorrow, the next day, they no longer want you having that power anymore, they can revoke it. So just something to consider, something to note, okay? It doesn't remove their rights. It doesn't remove their ability to make decisions. But again, it does mitigate quick decisions from happening in some instances, okay? But most important, it won't work if they're unable to consent to this option and understand it completely, okay? So a common misconception Oh, we actually talked about that already. All right, so I think, let me see here. I think we went through the comments already. Yes, we did. Perfect. All right, are we ready to move on? The big one, limited conservatorships. All right, so this option here is going to be the most restrictive. It's also going to be the most powerful one. And I love that we have an option like this here in California, as we do in most states. A conservatorship is going to be a wonderful option for who it makes sense for. So for my siblings, I have 3 siblings who all have Down syndrome. They're all in their 30s. They're all grown adults, but cognitively, developmentally, they're all like toddlers, infants, young children. So my sister Molly, I'd say developmentally, she's around age 6 or 7. If we're talking about my sister Emily, I'd say developmentally, she's right around age 3 or 4. And then my brother Steven, he's infant. So my brother Steven is nonverbal, still in diapers. He's 34 years old, 35 years old this year. Nonverbal, still in diapers. Can't take care of himself at all whatsoever. And Molly and Emily are similar in that way, but they are a bit more independent. And so all 3 of my siblings are conserved, and they've been conserved since becoming a young adult, because it was necessary. So none of my siblings have the ability to understand how to make any medical decision for themselves, how to make any financial decision. They can't make relationship decisions. And so because they are that cognitively impaired, the limited conservatorship is the best option for them. And so if you have somebody in your life, maybe it's very similar, maybe cognitively, there's just no way you could ever imagine them making a safe decision and understanding it themselves, then this might be an option to consider. This might be the only or the best, right? However, because this is a lot more strict, this is a very intense process. Not intense, but it's a lot more paperwork. It's a bit more complex than the other 2 options that we've gone over already. This is something that is court approved. You do have to see a judge to get this approved. And so we will always encourage people to work with an attorney. You can technically do it yourself, but it's so much paperwork. There's a lot of things you got to understand and go over yourself in order for the judge to move things along. And so having a lawyer who understands this environment, they will be able to do it all for you. And it's fantastic. It's going to be a little costly. It depends on who you hire. We have some great references if you need some. But it is something that's going to take like 3 to 6 months. We will never encourage somebody to expect something different, because the paperwork process, finding the right attorney or paralegal, the paperwork, getting a court date, meeting with the judge, and then getting the stamp of approval, I would say plan for this be a 6-month block of your life, because it could be longer, it could be quicker, but yeah. So plan ahead. Start planning now. If your loved one is 17 years old and they'll be 18 next year, this might be a great time to start planning. It also is okay if they're 25 or 35 and you haven't done these things yet. You can look into them now, right? So, okay, so what makes it limited? So again, we're talking limited conservatorships. The important part of this is the limited part, because it is quite literally limited. You are, in a sense, stripping the rights of this individual for them to make their own decisions, okay? But you are going to choose what they can and can't make a decision safely on, right? So there's 7 powers that you can choose from, and forgive me, I don't have them all memorized. I should have wrote them down, darn it. Oh well. So there's, again, medical, financial, relationship, sexual, where they live, right? These are all different options. And so you get to go down the line and pick and choose which one you know for sure this person does not have the ability to understand and make those decisions themselves, right? I'll give you an example. So my sister Molly, she has the relationship and sexual, those interpersonal relationship ones limited. She doesn't have that power anymore because Molly thinks everybody is her friend, right? If a stranger wanted to approach Molly and say, hey, I'm going to be your boyfriend now, come marry me, sign this marriage certificate, Molly'd say sure, and she would do it because she would have no clue what she's signing or understanding. Growing up, she would call every teacher at school her boyfriend, right? She would want to hold hands with boys in school, or her teachers, even caregivers, right? She just, not because, of anything, crazy, but just because she would see couples do that. She would see it as a form of affection and not understand that it's not appropriate, right? So Molly, my sister, wouldn't have no understanding. Neither would Emily or my brother Steven. So that's something that they don't have the power to make that decision for themselves anymore, because they wouldn't be able to make a safe decision, something that they would understand. And so this is how my parents, as their conservators, can help them, help prevent them from getting hurt in that way or being taken advantage of, right? So it's the best way I like to describe this is it's like continuing your parental rights into adulthood, right? As a parent, if you're parenting a child, they're under 18, you have a say of pretty much everything in their life, right? You have a say of what doctor they get to see. You have a say of who they get to hang out with and talk with. If there's friends that you don't like this person hanging around with because they're bad influences, guess what? You're the parent. You can tell them not to hang with that friend anymore, right? Or that friend group, right? And so it kind of allows for that same mentality going into adulthood. So it can be really, really helpful for people who might be more profoundly disabled cognitively. And so for the courtroom, by the way, it can be a little daunting, but I wouldn't be scared of it necessarily. It's not like a trial. It's nothing like that. But the judge does want to consider, hey, is it best for this person to be conserved, or is this person better off in a different way, right? So they're going to want to look at the records. They're going to want to look at testimony. They're going to want to talk to you as the caregiver. They're going to want to talk to the person, right? They're going to want to get their testimony and get an understanding of where they're at cognitively. And so it usually will be pretty smooth if it's not contested, right? So if somebody doesn't believe that this person should be conserved, this does happen from time to time, right? Maybe it's a mom and dad situation where mom and dad are no longer together. They've been divorced for years and they've raised little Johnny together as co-parents, right? But they're split. One parent says, I want to get little Johnny conserved now because he's 18. And the other parent says, no way, that's not happening, right? Well, now there's contention here. And so you could still go through with the process, but ultimately it's going to be left up to a judge to decide on whether or not that person should be conserved, because they have to take point on both sides. They have to listen to dad here, or whoever the alternative is, who's contending this option, and then also for mom. And they need to determine, okay, what is going to be the best, safest thing for this individual, right? So that's when it can get sticky or tricky. It's when you have another family member or other people in this person's life, or even this person themselves. Sometimes there's times where the person will want to fight to not be conserved, right? And so if that's the case, the judge has to understand and gauge this person's comprehension of the process. Do they really understand what they're fighting, right? So things to consider. Alyssa, I think Down syndrome Charles are in our development ages task-based. I'm not too sure what you mean by that, Alyssa. Do you mind elaborating? Hi, Scott. Thanks for being here. Christy, if you're an older parent caregiver, think about limited conservatorship. If you pass and have no one to replace you, the courts decide who will conserve. If court appointed, there is a fee. Yeah, I don't know much about the fee process in that, but you're right. You're right. If you don't have a conservator in place, a conservator will be appointed to them. And in a sense, it's like it's basically the state becomes the conservator, sort of. It's a little bit more complex than that. But this is why we encourage people to have backup plans. This is why we encourage people to do the estate planning with an attorney who specializes in this. Get a will. Get all these things in place so that this loved one, this child or this grandchild of yours or whoever you're caring for, sibling, they're going to be taken care of for the rest of their lives, right? Especially if they're clients of regional center, there's so many things you can design for them to give them a fulfilling life, even after you might pass away or no longer can care for them anymore. And so give us a call. If you want to chat more about that, let me know. I'd love to try and help you out and point you in the right direction if we can't support you or have answers for you, I mean. All right, so unlike the power of attorney, not the power of attorney, the assisted supported decision-making, unlike this, a conservatorship is going to be widely, broadly known and supported by any institution for the most part. So if financial and medical decision making is gone on that, you have the power as the conservator. That person, little Johnny, they can't go down to the street and open up a credit card. They can't. It wouldn't be valid, right? Same thing if they were to go to a bank and open up a bank account, or same thing if they were to go to the hospital and try to get medical treatment for something maybe they don't need. They wouldn't be able to do that at all, because the hospitals, the banking institutions, they would all see the conservatorship on file if it's going to be court appointed, right? So it's a much bigger deal. It's a much more widely known and supported thing. So kind of by obligation in a sense, right? Legally. So something to consider. However, one thing that is similar to this one as the rest is it's not necessarily a permanent option. So there are some rare times where somebody might get conserved and that may change in the future, right? So nothing necessarily is any way, shape, or form permanent. But this is considered a permanent option. It's considered, it's expected that, hey, if this person's getting conserved today, it probably means they're going to require some type of conservatorship for the rest of their life, right? Or some type of support in decision making. But it is not necessarily something that is stuck forever. A court can adjust things. They can review things, again, if it's in contention, right? So it can be adjusted if the state of California or yourself as the family feels like it needs to be changed. All right, so a couple of things and how it incorporates with your benefits. So here in California, we have Regional Center, we have SSI, we have IHSS, right? So all of these things people have to consider when they're pursuing these things, not because it's gonna eliminate any of these things. In fact, it's gonna be quite the opposite. It's something that they will also have to recognize if you go this way. So I just want to kind of encourage people not to be weary that if you're going to get a conservatorship, it automatically changes the benefits or takes things away, because it's not how it works. Benefits will not automatically stop if you were to pursue this and try and get one of these options. And will it change as this person gets older, right? If you start with a power of attorney, can you then level up as they get older to a conservatorship if they need it? Absolutely. And vice versa. If you feel like you got to change it out, again, you'll have to maybe go through the court process if you need to, but yeah. And in regards to will it affect IHSS, usually no. It usually will help you with the IHSS side. Sorry, it's a bug. So that this person's not left to answering all the questions with the social worker by themselves, right? So if you have a child with autism and they've had IHSS for a few years now, but this upcoming year they're turning 18, if they don't have a power of attorney or a limited conservatorship, then the social worker must speak with them directly and take their testimony as credible. And so take that into consideration. If you know that this person would not be able to speak for themselves, then that would be concerning, because IHSS, that's a big benefit that could be paying you as the caregiver hundreds, or maybe thousands of dollars a month. And we wouldn't want that to be in jeopardy if this person's testimony is not credible, right? So something to consider. Again, will Regional Center drop you if you do this? No. Will SSI stop if you get these things? No. These are things that they can all work together when it's designed properly, okay? Let me see here. I'm gonna use this one here. Let me see here. But really what matters the most here is going to be the needs of this person, right? What matters to them? What is it best for them? And again, that may be up to you to decide as their caregiver. It may be up as a collective if you have a whole family caring for this person. If you need help making that decision, right? That's why I will always encourage just to, hire a professional, or at least consult with a professional, like a family law lawyer or an estate planning attorney, to help you make those decisions, because these are big decisions. Right? So, and yeah, how is their ability to communicate, right? Oh, it looks like we might be having some technical difficulties here. Sorry, guys. I just saw that I keep cutting out. It looks like we've lost a good chunk of you. I'm sorry. I didn't see that until just now. I don't know why. My Wi-Fi seems to be okay. So I'm not sure what's going on. Hopefully we get to continue a little bit. Nancy's like, what the heck? Sorry, Nancy. Let me know. Can you guys still hear me, see me? Is it still cutting out a lot? Let me know. Teresa, can you still hear me or see me okay? I haven't seen any comments come through, so not a great sign. Sorry, everybody. And it looks like everybody's on YouTube. So hello to the YouTubers. So I think there's an issue with Facebook. I think that's what it is. So if you're watching me on YouTube, let me know if you can hear me and see me okay. We're almost done. We'll get out of here in just a moment, but. All right, well, we'll continue on. We will hopefully save and post this. So if you missed this last part, hopefully you can come back, okay? So again, choosing the right fit, connect with an attorney, connect with somebody who, oh, you said you can hear good. Okay, cool. That again, that's from YouTube. So YouTube looks like is good, but for some reason, Facebook is out of whack. I don't know what's going on with Facebook. All right, so it's just us, YouTube. All right, well, we'll wrap this up. So hopefully this was helpful for you. Again, this is a big decision. There's a lot of several options here to choose from. I'm going to highly recommend you reach out to somebody like Ellen Cookman or another family law lawyer or estate planning attorney in your area that you're comfortable chatting with to help make that decision. Okay. Having conservatorships, limited conservatorships over my siblings. I am not a conservator. That's my parents, but having those conservatorships over them was the best decision for them specifically. And so they are protected in many ways that other people wouldn't be if they only had a power of attorney. Christy, a way to explain a power of attorney to a mentally disabled adult child is to say, when you were a child, mom and dad made decisions for you, and having a POA continues that. Yeah, I mean, that's exactly what it would be in a sense, right? But that's also not exactly going to be covenant, right? We have to know that that this person with special needs still understands what they're signing. And so for them to say that it's like having mom and dad make the decisions for them, it's sort of true, because that's more of the limited conservatorship, right? The limited conservatorship allows that person to have the power to make decisions, like to trump over any decision that the child wants to make. Whereas a power of attorney, it's to help them make a decision that they are okay with, right? At the end of the day, they still have to be okay with the decision, right? Whereas a conservatorship is different. They don't have a say about the decision anymore. But again, it's all very complex, right? But Christy, thanks for sharing, because both of these options are very much so like that. So I like describing it in that way as well. Okay, so again, if you want some help with understanding this a little bit more in depth, please reach out to, feel free to reach out to us. We'll send you some referrals, but we are going to refer you to some professionals who specialize in this field. That way you can get some solid response and support there, and professional guidance. I will highly encourage that. I think it's a great transition into adulthood, right? It's never too early. It's never too late to start at least looking into this and considering the options. So yeah, I'm going to encourage you to do that this Friday, even though it's a little doomy and gloomy out here in Northern California. I don't know where you guys are at, but take advantage of this time for some reading if you can. Stay indoors. But with that said, I hope everybody enjoyed today's live stream. I wish I had more support and more answers for you on some of these things, but we got through it as best as I could. So hopefully maybe this struck a chord with some of you to maybe look into these options if you haven't done so already. If you want to watch this information in Spanish, check out Nicole's stream here in the next 10, 15 minutes or so at 1 o'clock. She will be speaking in Spanish about the same topic. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties to those who are watching on Facebook. Hopefully we'll be able to repost it so that they can come back and watch this. But I hope everybody has a wonderful Friday. I hope you enjoy your weekend. Stay happy and safe, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.